I'm Jenny Harper, 38, standing in my folks' backyard in Ohio, watching my sister Leela round everyone up for her big reveal. My gut twists as I catch that smug grin of hers, the one that's been needling me for years. For 25 years, we've been locked in this quiet rivalry, and she still finds ways to cut me down. But what Leela doesn't know is that I've got the deed to her dream beachfront cottage tucked in my pocket. Sometimes, revenge isn't about tearing someone apart, it's about showing them a lesson they'll carry forever. Before I spill how I flipped the script on Leela's mean streak, drop a comment with where you're tuning in from, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever navigated a toxic family member. Growing up as Leela's little sister felt like I was always stuck in her shadow. From the moment I came into the world, it was like my life was a race I didn't choose to run. Leela's 3 years older than me, and as far back as I can recall, she's been hell-bent on outdoing me at every turn. Our childhood home in suburban Michigan was cozy, nothing fancy. Dad was a mechanic and Mom taught kindergarten, raising us with good, middle-class values: work hard, save your pennies, treat folks kindly. But those lessons hit us differently. I was the practical one, always thinking ahead. While other teens blew their summer job cash on lip gloss and cute tops, I squirreled mine away for college. My bedroom was tidy, my grades were top-notch, and I had a 10-year plan by the time I was a freshman. Nothing showy, just steady and focused. Leela, though, had a taste for the finer things from early on. She craved name-brand clothes, fancy trips, and constant praise. I valued effort and waiting for the good stuff. Leela was all about looking good and getting it now. She wasn't outright cruel as a kid, just insecure, always fishing for attention. I still remember the sting of 5th grade when she took credit for my work. I'd poured weeks into a history project on the Great Lakes, building a model that my teacher called grad school quality. At the school open house, I overheard Leela telling her buddies she'd guided me through it because I couldn't grasp the details. It hurt, but I bit my tongue. That set the tone, her taking me stepping back. By high school, our dynamic was locked in. Leela found ways to downplay my wins or claim them as hers. When I got into Michigan State with a half-ride scholarship, she told our aunts and uncles she'd mentored me through the applications. When I graduated with honors in marketing, she spun it like I was just trailing her path, even though she'd flunked out of community college after one term. Our parents never quite saw it. Dad would softly tell me to toughen up, while Mom said Leela just had her own way of shining. They loved us both, but they'd unintentionally let Leela's antics slide, maybe because it was easier to soothe her than call out her schemes. After college, I built my online store from the ground up, spotting a niche in eco-friendly kitchenware and grinding 18-hour days to connect with green suppliers. The first 2 years were rough. I survived on instant oatmeal in a cramped apartment, funneling every cent back into the business. Layla, meanwhile, hopped from boutique jobs, quitting when they got too hard or didn't match her self-image. Then my company soared. By year 3, I had 12 employees and quadrupled my profits. By year 5, I was in Forbes' 40 under 40 list. Suddenly, Leela was telling everyone she'd always had faith in me, claiming she'd boosted my confidence to succeed. At family dinners, she played the role of my biggest cheerleader and unofficial business guru. I learned to pick my fights and keep my personal life under wraps. While Leela rented a ritzy loft she could hardly afford and leased a new Audi every 3 years, I lived simply in a modest condo and drove my trusty Toyota until the wheels practically fell off. I socked away money for retirement, built a rainy day fund, and secured real financial stability. Leela figured I was just lousy with cash, not strategic. 4 years back, on a family trip to Lake Erie, Leela fell hard for a gorgeous beachfront house with a private pier and sweeping views. The 6-bedroom retreat was listed at $1.5 million, way out of her reach. Still, she spent the whole vacation gushing about her future summer home, snapping pics of every corner during a tour and planning the big parties she'd throw. Every family gathering since, she's moaned about how someone snatched up her dream place, though she never had the funds to even dream of it. What my family didn't know was that my business hit a rough patch 8 months ago. A key supplier tanked, leaving me with thousands in losses and frustrated customers. On top of that, a platform algorithm shift tanked my visibility. It was a brutal combo, and though I knew it'd pass, my cash flow dried up. I had to take out a bridge loan to keep things running. Leela somehow sniffed out my money troubles, probably by poking through my desk during a visit. I caught her flipping through my bills once but brushed it off. Big mistake. Then last month, by pure chance, that Lake Erie house, Leela's obsession, popped back on the market at a discount because of the owner's messy divorce. The second I saw the listing, a plan sparked in my mind. It was bold, maybe a touch petty, but I couldn't let it go. I called the realtor and learned the owners were desperate for a fast sale. They take $900,000 for a place worth way more. I spent 4 sleepless nights crunching numbers, consulting my financial planner, and wrestling with the risks. In the end, I decided to cash out a chunk of my savings and investments. I set up an LLC to keep my name off the records and put in an all-cash bid. The timing was razor thin. The closing was set for the Friday morning of our yearly family get-together in 2024. A part of me wondered if I was making a colossal mistake, both with my money and my morals. Was I really dipping into my savings just to show Leela a thing or two? Or was this my shot to finally draw a line after years of her crossing it? As I put my signature on the initial documents, I kept reassuring myself this wasn't about getting even. It was about standing tall after decades of letting Leela's antics slide without a word. Still, a quiet doubt nagged at me. Was I turning into the kind of person I despised? Someone who'd wield cash like a club? Our annual Harper family reunion is a tradition that goes back to when my parents were kids. Every June, cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents pile into my folks' big backyard in Indiana for a day of barbecue, catching up, and the usual family squabbles. Normally, I love it, a chance to swap stories with my favorite cousins and show off my latest eco-friendly product designs. But this year felt off. As I rolled into my parents' driveway, my stomach was doing flips. My business hiccups weren't the end of the world, but they weren't exactly cocktail party chatter either. I'd had to pause contracts for 4 team members and dial back operations while I sorted out my supplier mess. To someone like Leela, who knew as much about running a business as she did about rocket science, these normal growing pains would look like a total crash and burn. I glanced at my phone one last time before stepping out of the car, no word yet from the realtor about the closing. I took a deep breath and grabbed the homemade dip and chips from the front seat. Putting on a brave face felt crucial today. "Jenny, you're here." Mom rushed over from the porch, her polka dot dress swishing in the warm breeze. She wrapped me in a hug that carried her familiar scent of lavender and bug spray. "Everyone's already out back, even your cousin Tara from Portland showed up this year." The backyard was decked out like it was every summer, long white tables in a big square, red and yellow balloons tied to chairs, and Dad's beloved grill puffing smoke in the corner. At least 50 relatives milled around, juggling plastic cups and paper plates piled high as they weaved through clusters of chatter. "Where, Leela?" I asked, keeping my tone light as I plopped my dip on the crowded snack table. Mom's face flickered with something unreadable. "Oh, she's floating around somewhere, probably inside with Aunt Linda. She's been all secretive today, says she's got a big announcement planned for later." My internal alarm bells started clanging louder. Mom must have caught my look because she quickly added, "It's probably nothing, hun. You know Leela loves stirring the pot. Maybe she finally landed that manager job at the boutique." I nodded, plastering on a grin. "Yep, probably." As I wove through the crowd, I collected hugs and cheek pecks like they were party swag. Cousin Ryan asked if I could give his son some career tips for college. Uncle Frank was pumped to share how he'd used my eco-friendly flooring in his new den. Aunt Clara wanted my take on launching an Etsy store for her quilts. Usually these chats would light me up, family who actually saw my hustle and know-how. But today I felt like I was watching it all from behind a window, my eyes darting around for Leela, bracing for whatever she had up her sleeve. I spotted her by the drink cooler, whispering with our cousins Sarah and Aunt Linda. When Leela caught me looking, she flashed a too bright smile and gave a little wave, then muttered something that made Sarah and Linda glance my way with sympathetic looks. "Don't let her rattle you," a voice said from behind. I turned to see my cousin Mia holding out a glass of lemonade. Mia was the only one I'd opened up to about my business struggles. She runs a thriving bookkeeping business and helped me refinance some loans. "Whatever she's cooking up, it's about her, not you." "I know," I sighed, taking the drink with a grateful nod. "I just don't get why she's still like this. We're pushing 40 for Pete's sake. Shouldn't we be past this sibling nonsense by now?" Mia gave a dry laugh. "In normal families, sure, but Leela's whole vibe is built on measuring herself against you. Your actual success just makes her double down on her act." We were cut off by Dad's loud call to gather at the tables for lunch. I found my seat right across from Leela naturally. Mom's seating charts always seem to brew maximum drama. Leela was already playing Queen Bee at our table, regaling everyone with tales of her recent getaway to Cape Cod, courtesy of some vague friend she didn't name. Her outfit screamed over the top. A designer skirt with the price tag barely snipped off and shades that probably cost more than her rent perched on her head. "Jenny," she chirped when I sat down, her voice dripping with fake enthusiasm like she was putting on a show. "I was just telling everyone about this incredible real estate deal I'm eyeing." She leaned in, her voice loud enough for the whole table to hear. "Property where the big bucks are, right? Especially if you've got the smarts for it." My heart skipped a beat. Did she know about the beach house? No, that couldn't be. The deal wasn't even locked in yet. "Maybe," I said coolly, scooping some coleslaw onto my plate. "If you've got the know-how." She leaned closer, dropping her voice to a dramatic whisper everyone could hear. "I've been reading up on financial security. It's so key to spread your bets before a market crash. Some companies just aren't cut out to ride out tough times, you know." A few relatives squirmed in their seats, picking up on the sting in Leela's words. My face warmed, but I kept my cool, taking a slow sip of lemonade to hide any reaction. I wasn't about to let her see me flinch. Lunch dragged on with the tension cranking up. I caught more family members shooting me those sad, knowing glances. Cousin Matt asked, all too casually, how my company was holding up lately, while Aunt Linda hinted she knew a friend hearing office staff if I needed a steadier gig. By the time the pies and cookies hit the table, I was drained from keeping my game face on. I mumbled an excuse about needing the restroom and slipped away for a breather. In the calm of my parents' guest bathroom, I checked my phone again. One new text from the realtor. Docs prepped for final signing tomorrow at 8 a.m. Congrats on your new beach house. A quiet confidence washed over me. Whatever Leela had up her sleeve, I now had my plan locked in. I met my own eyes in the mirror, pulled my shoulders back, and headed back to the party. Over by the dessert spread, I found Uncle Tom savoring a slice of Mom's legendary cherry pie. He's always been my favorite, a soft-spoken guy who seems to read family drama like a book. "Your sister's got something up her sleeve today," he said as I walked up, not even phrasing it as a question. "Seems like it," I answered, grabbing a chocolate chip cookie from the tray. "Any guesses on her big reveal?" Uncle Tom gave me a sharp look. "Nothing kind based on all the hushed chatter she's been stirring." He paused, then added, "I've been married to your Aunt Clara for 45 years, and here's what I've learned. Folks who need to knock others down are wobbling on their own shaky legs." I gave him a thankful smile. "You're right, I know, I just wish." A loud clink of a spoon against a glass cut me off. We turned to see Leela standing at the head of the table, practically glowing with excitement, a silver spoon in her hand. "Hey, everyone, can I have your attention for a sec?" she called out. The backyard went quiet as all eyes swung to her. She stood tall, her face a perfect mix of fake worry. My pulse raced as I slid back into my seat, sensing what was coming but helpless to stop it. "First, I want to give a huge thanks to Mom and Dad for throwing another amazing reunion," Leela started, lifting her glass toward them. They grinned, clueless about the storm brewing. "Family means the world to me, so I think it's vital to speak up when someone we love is struggling." She paused for effect, her gaze locking onto mine across the tables. The crocodile tears in her eyes turned my stomach. "I'm sure you've all noticed Jenny been quieter today, not her usual bubbly self." A few relatives murmured in agreement. "Well, it's time we talk about the elephant in the room because Jenny needs us now." My grip tightened on my napkin under the table, my knuckles going pale. Mia, seated nearby, shot me a worried glance. "It kills me to say this," Leela went on, her voice quivering with staged emotion, "but Jenny's company has tanked. She's filed for bankruptcy." The collective gasp was exactly what she'd angled for. Shocked faces turned my way, some with real concern, others with nosy curiosity. The word bankruptcy hung heavy like a storm cloud. "I found the documents last week," she added, glossing over how she'd snooped to get her hands on this flat-out lie. "She's lost it all, her stock, her office space, even her business accounts. The bank's going over her personal savings now." Mom's hand flew to her chest. "Jenny, sweetheart, is this true? Why didn't you say anything?" Before I could speak, Leela swooped in again. "She was too embarrassed, Mom. You know how proud she's always been of her little startup." The jab was surgical, painting herself as the doting sister while shrinking my years of grind into a little startup and airing my private business in the worst way. "Actually," I tried to cut in, but Leela wasn't done. "I've already told her she can crash in my guest room until she's back on her feet. I've even reached out to some folks about job openings for her." Her tone oozed smug charity. A regular 9 to 5 might do her good for a change, less stress, more security. A memory hit me like a freight train, pulling me out of the moment. 4 years ago, when Leela got canned from another job, I'd offered her a spot in my company's support team. She'd scoffed, saying she'd never work under her baby sister. Now here she was, humiliating me in front of everyone while posing as my rescuer. Dad stood, his face red with worry. "Jenny, why are we hearing this now? We could have helped." Every eye was on me. The truth was straightforward. There was no bankruptcy. Sure, my business had hit a cash crunch, but we were already bouncing back. I'd lined up a better supplier, and my team had cooked up a clever marketing plan to counter the platform's algorithm shift. But laying that out now would sound like I was scrambling, making excuses to save face. I took a steadying breath. "Thanks for the concern, everyone," I said, keeping my voice even and locking eyes with Leela. "But Leela's got it wrong. My company's just restructuring, nowhere near bankruptcy. I've got it under control." Leela's smile wobbled for a split second, but she rallied fast. "Oh, Jenny, you don't have to fake it for us. I saw the paperwork. Chapter 11 bankruptcy isn't something you just shrug off." The precision of her lie, calling it Chapter 11 instead of Chapter 7, was deliberate, meant to make her story sound legit. A few relatives nodded along, clearly buying Leela's detailed story over my brief pushback. "Maybe we should talk about this later, just us," I offered, fighting to keep my voice steady. "We're all family here," Leela countered, throwing her arms wide with a big smile. "No need to feel ashamed. Stumbling is just part of life, though some of us tried to tell you not to grow your business so fast." She'd never once cautioned me about anything like that. In fact, she'd always griped that I was too slow and careful with my company's growth. Her bold-faced rewriting of our past made my blood boil. I slipped away quietly, heading into the house, feeling the weight of countless stares on my back. Inside the cool hush of my parents' kitchen in Indiana, I leaned against the counter and took a few deep breaths to settle my nerves. My phone pinged with a text from Mia. "Want me to accidentally dump lemonade on her fancy skirt?" Despite the mess, I cracked a smile. Then another message popped up, this one from the realtor with an attachment. "Final contract ready for your review before tomorrow's signing." Uncle Tom appeared in the doorway, his warm eyes full of worry. "Your sister's putting on quite a show out there," he said, shutting the door softly to give us a moment alone. "She sure knows how to work a crowd," I agreed, tucking my phone into my pocket. He pulled out a kitchen chair and motioned for me to sit with him. "I've watched you and Leela since you were knee-high. She's always been the show-off, all sparkle and noise. But you, Jenny, you're the steady one, quiet, sharp, wiser than folks give you credit for." I managed a faint smile. "Not wise enough to dodge this trap, I guess." He shook his head firmly. "I don't buy that bankruptcy nonsense for a second, but even if it were true, so what? You think we'd care about you any less? Your worth to this family isn't tied to your bank account." His words hit me deep, stirring something I hadn't realized was there. For years, I'd shaped myself as the opposite of Leela. Where she was loud, I was soft. Where she was reckless, I was calculated. Maybe in trying so hard not to be her, I'd lost sight of just being me. "Thanks," I said softly. "That means more than you know." He leaned back, a glint in his eye. "So, what's your next move? I know Jenny Harper's got something up her sleeve." I paused, then gave a small nod. "I do. It's happening tomorrow morning." He grinned and stood up. "Good, now let's get back before your mom starts a GoFundMe for your fake financial crisis." We stepped back into the backyard where Leela was still playing the star, now spinning tales of how she'd helped me rebuild my life. I sat down, picked up a slice of pie, and let her words roll off me. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. The rest of the reunion felt like a bad dream that wouldn't end. What should have been a happy family day turned into Jenny's financial rescue mission. Relatives I hadn't seen in ages suddenly turned into money experts, handing me business cards for low-level jobs or sharing tales of friends who'd climbed back from rock bottom. Aunt Carol caught me by the drink table. "Have you thought about direct sales? My friend's cousin makes bank selling skincare online." She shoved a flyer into my hand before I could say a word. Cousin Tim, who'd tanked 4 startups himself, offered to review my books and point out my mistakes, oblivious to the irony. Uncle Ray gave me a long-winded rundown on applying for unemployment, talking slow like I might not grasp the idea of government aid. All the while, Leela glided through the crowd, switching between fake pity when she was near me and smug satisfaction when she thought I wasn't watching. She'd set herself up as both the truth-teller and my hero, a slick move that made her look like the wise, successful sister swooping in to save her floundering sibling. "Jenny, I've been thinking about your clothes," she announced loudly as a few aunts eavesdropped nearby. "When you move in with me, we can raid my wardrobe. I've got some sharp outfits perfect for job hunts." The idea that I'd need her cast-offs when my closet held better quality clothes than hers, just less flashy, was a deliberate dig. I forced a tight smile and stepped away. My parents, bless their hearts, seemed torn about what to believe. Mom kept piling extra food on my plate, like money troubles might have left me starving, while Dad clumsily mentioned his savings were solid if I needed a quick loan. Their worry was real, but their readiness to swallow Leela's story without asking me stung almost as bad as her betrayal. As the afternoon slipped into evening and string lights flickered on around the yard, I found myself alone on the old tire swing at the far end of the lawn, the same spot I'd escaped to as a kid when Leela's jabs got too sharp. Some things never change. "Room for one more?" Mia's voice pulled me back. She stood there with 2 glasses of iced tea and settled beside me on the swing, handing me one. "Remember when we were kids and Leela told everyone at Thanksgiving you were scared of the dark?" she asked after a quiet moment. I groaned. I was 8 and she had the whole family leaving hall lights on for me for months. Mia grinned. "And remember the next spring? She got a rash from that secret hideout she made in the bushes after you mentioned stinging nettles grow in pairs." A laugh escaped me as I clinked my glass with hers. "You've always played the smart game, Jenny," she said. "That's why I'm not sweating this." My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Leela's name lit up the screen. "Speak of the devil," I muttered, hitting decline. Seconds later, she appeared across the lawn, spotting us on the swing. Her purposeful stride made Mia whisper, "Drama alert at 12 o'clock," before slipping away with a quick pat on my shoulder. Leela plopped down beside me, her pricey skirt looking out of place on the weathered swing. Up close, I could see the cracks under her flawless makeup, tight lines around her eyes, a smile a little too stiff. "You're dodging me," she said, faking a pout. "Can you blame me?" I shot back. "Don't be so touchy, Jenny," she said, brushing it off. "I was just being real with the family. They have a right to know." I turned to face her straight on. "Know what, Leela? That you snooped through my private files, misread what you found, and decided to broadcast your wrong assumptions to every relative we've got without checking with me first? That's the real you're standing by?" Her eyes narrowed just a fraction. I saw the bankruptcy papers, Jenny. Don't act like you're above it. What you saw were draft documents my accountant drew up for a worst-case scenario. They were never filed. My company hit a bump, not a brick wall. For a second, uncertainty flashed across her face, but she shook it off. The family needed to know either way. I'm just trying to help you. I've already told everyone you can stay with me until you're back on your feet. My guest room's tiny, but it's better than nothing, which is what you've got now, right? The cold edge in her words hit like a slap. This wasn't just about shamming me. She wanted me under her thumb, knocked down in the family's eyes while she played the big-hearted savior. I'm not moving in with you, Leela, I said firmly. My business is fine, my home is fine, and my life doesn't need your meddling. She stood, brushing her skirt with perfectly manicured nails. We'll see. I've already told the family we're meeting a money advisor on Tuesday to go over your options. I won't let your stubbornness get in the way of help. As she strutted off, my phone pinged with a new text. It was from her, sent to our whole family group chat. So worried about Jenny, she's not facing her situation. Leela's group text went on. If anyone's got job tips for Jenny, shoot them my way since she's too stubborn to ask herself. I stared at my phone, watching relatives chime in with pitying replies. Even as the reunion fizzled out, her show kept rolling. The lengths she'd go to keep me down were mind-blowing. Later, as I scrubbed dishes in the kitchen with Mom, she tiptoed into the topic. Sweetie, about what Leela said, is it really as dire as she claims? I set the plates I'd been rinsing on the rack and turned to her. Mom, do you honestly think I'd be so broke I'd file for bankruptcy and you'd find out from Leela at a family barbecue? She looked sheepish, her cheeks pink. I guess not, but she sounded so sure, and you've been awfully quiet these days. My company had a hiccup with a supplier, but we're already back on track. What Leela did was blab private stuff, wrong stuff, mind you, without my okay. And instead of asking me, everyone just bought her story. Mom wiped her hands on a dish towel, her face clouded with unease. You know how Leela is, she's always been touchy about your achievements. My jaw tightened at the old habit of brushing off Leela's actions. That's not being touchy, Mom, it's mean. Before she could answer, my phone rang, the realtor. I stepped out to the back deck to take it. Jenny, awesome news, all the papers are set. We're good for 8 a.m. tomorrow to wrap it up. The owners have already cleared out, so you'll get the keys right after. As I hung up, I caught Leela eyeing me from across the lawn, her gaze sharp with curiosity. Right then, I decided, the beach house wouldn't just be a smart buy, it'd be the backdrop for a sisterly heart-to-heart long overdue. Monday morning broke sunny and crisp, the kind of gorgeous summer day that makes the Midwest glow. I woke early in my old bedroom, barely sleeping after the reunion's drama. My parents had begged me to crash at their place, worried about me after Leela's bombshell. I picked out a sharp gray blazer and black slacks, polished but low-key, the kind of look that says, I've got this, without shouting it. The outfit was intentional, a signal I was still in control. As I swiped on a touch of makeup, I ran through what I'd say to Leela. This wasn't about payback, it was about setting boundaries and laying out the truth. Downstairs, Dad was at the kitchen table, hunched over his usual Monday Sudoku. He glanced up as I walked in, eyebrows lifting at my outfit. Fancy for a Monday morning, he said, setting his pencil down. I've got an appointment, I said, grabbing a mug for coffee, a deal I couldn't put off. He studied me for a beat. Jenny, about yesterday, your mom and I are concerned. If money's tight, we're here, no questions asked. I sat across from him, cradling the steaming mug. Dad, listen close, I'm not going bankrupt. My business hit a rough patch with cash flow, but it's already sorting itself out. What Leela told everyone was flat out wrong and a total violation of my privacy. His face shifted from worry to puzzlement. But she said she saw the documents. She saw backup papers my accountant drafted for a worst-case plan, standard stuff for a business tweak. They were never filed. If you don't trust me, call my CPA tomorrow. Dad stared at his Sudoku, his ears reddening. I should have come to you first. Yeah, you should have, I said, keeping my tone soft but firm. For 38 years, you and Mom have let Leela slide while expecting me to rise above. I'm done with it, Dad. The quiet between us hung heavy, thick with years of unspoken family patterns. Finally, he gave a slow nod. You're right, we've let her get away with too much. I'm sorry, Jenny. His apology, late as it was, filled a gap I hadn't known was so raw. I reached over and squeezed his hand. Thanks, Dad. So what's this appointment? He asked, steering to lighter ground. I smiled. A real estate deal. I've gotta run, meeting the agent at 8. As I grabbed my bag and keys, my phone buzzed with another group text from Leela. Taking Jenny to lunch today to talk next steps. We'll keep you posted on her situation. Thanks for all the love during her tough time. The nerve of it floored me. I hadn't agreed to any lunch, but she was still spinning her story of being my savior. I fired back a quick reply, got a meeting this morning, let's reschedule. Her response was instant. What meeting? Money planners don't do Mondays. Stop dodging help. Instead of arguing in the group chat, I sent her a private text. Meet me at 10 a.m. at the Coffee Bean on Shoreline Road in Lake Erie. We need to talk. I could practically feel her smugness through the screen. She probably thought I was caving, ready to beg for her aid. Her reply was syrupy. Sure thing, sis, I'll be there for you. The drive to Lake Erie took just shy of an hour and a half. I spent the time grounding myself, now and then glancing at the stack of closing papers on the seat next to me. By the time I pulled into the real estate office, I felt steady and ready. The closing went smoother than I expected. I scrawled my signature dozens of times, dotted initials across endless forms, and wired the biggest chunk of cash I'd ever moved at once. When it was over, the realtor handed me 2 sets of keys. Congrats, Ms. Harper, the beach house is all yours. I drove the short stretch to the property, parking in the curved driveway of what was now my getaway home. The realtor hadn't oversold it, it was gorgeous. The 2-story wood-and brick house faced the lake, with a wide porch wrapping around and huge windows framing stunning water views. A private pier stretched into the sparkling lake, capped by a quaint boathouse. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. Polished oak floors shone under the sunlight pouring through the glass. The previous owners had left some pieces behind. A grand stone fireplace anchored the living room with built-in shelves and cozy chairs around it. The kitchen gleamed with top-notch appliances and marble counters. Upstairs, the main bedroom boasted sweeping lake views and a bathroom that felt like a luxury spa. It was just as Leela had raved about for years, her dream home she'd snag someday when her ship came in. I wandered through each room, mentally cataloging it all. Sure, part of buying this place was to teach Leela a lesson, but I hadn't expected to fall so hard for it myself. It was tranquil, a spot where I could actually unwind from my business's grind. At 9:45 a.m., I texted Leela, Change of plans, meet me at 1:15 p.m. at 224 Shoreline Road, not the Coffee Bean. Her reply was instant. Where that? Just plug it into your GPS, see you soon. I brewed a pot of coffee and carried 2 mugs out to the porch swing overlooking the lake. The morning sun glinted off the water and a soft breeze brought the scent of cedar and fresh lake air. Despite the showdown ahead, a deep calm settled over me. At exactly 10:12 a.m., Leela was always fashionably late. I heard tires crunch on the gravel drive. Through the trees, I saw her silver Audi pull up behind my Toyota. She stepped out, looking puzzled, double-checking her phone like the address might be wrong. Her confusion grew as she neared the house, taking in the sprawling property with a furrowed brow. When she spotted me on the porch, her manicured brows knit together. "Jenny, what are you doing here? Whose place is this?" She climbed the porch steps, pricey sunglasses perched on her head, her brunch outfit looking oddly out of place. I nodded to the swing beside me. "Take a seat, want some coffee?" She stayed standing, her confusion mounting. "For real, what is this house? Are you like watching it for someone?" I sipped my coffee, letting the moment linger. "You don't recognize it? That's funny, since you've gone on about it being your dream home for years." Her eyes widened as the penny dropped. She spun around, scanning the property with fresh eyes. Hold on, this is that beach house? The one that sold 4 years ago. It hit the market again last month, owner's divorce." I held out a set of keys. "Wanna check out the inside?" She stared at the keys, then at me, shock slowly overtaking her confusion. You bought this place, how? You're broke." And there it was, proof she knew her big announcement yesterday was a lie. "That's what I wanted to talk about, Leela." I set my mug down. "I'm not broke, never was." Leela stood rooted to the porch, her eyes flicking between the keys and my face. The story she'd spun, her thriving self saving her flopping sister, was falling apart right in front of her. "But I saw the bankruptcy papers," she pressed, her usual swagger fading. "Those were backup forms my accountant drafted, never filed." I placed the keys on the table between us. "My company hit a cash snag when a supplier went under, but we're already back on track with a better partner and a sharper marketing plan." She dropped onto the swing beside me, clutching her fancy purse like a lifeline. "So you're not crashing at my place?" "Nope, Leela, that was never the plan." "But why didn't you stop me from telling everyone?" "Stop you?" I cut in, the anger I'd bottled up yesterday flaring. "You snooped through my private files, made wild assumptions, and blabbed lies to our whole family without ever asking me. I didn't let you do anything." She looked away, a flicker of shame crossing her face before she doubled down. "I was worried about you. I was trying to help." "Really? Or were you loving the chance to watch me squirm while you played the big shot sister?" Her silence spoke volumes. I softened my tone. "Leela, we need to hash out this thing between us. It's been going on since we were kids, and I've let it slide by staying quiet. That stops now." She stared out at the lake, avoiding my eyes. "What thing? You're the one who's always had it together, the brainy one, the planner, the big entrepreneur. Do you know how hard it is to measure up to you?" The irony almost made me laugh. "My shadow? Leela, you've spent our whole lives acting like you're the successful one, claiming my wins, calling my company a side hustle, and flashing stuff you can't afford to outshine me." "That's not true," she said, but her voice lacked conviction and her expression showed she wasn't even convincing herself. "Isn't it? Look at yesterday. You could have pulled me aside to ask about those papers. Instead, you chose to humiliate me in front of everyone. Why? She studied her polished nails, unusually quiet. I think, I went on carefully, it's because you've built your whole identity on looking better than me. When you saw those documents, you thought you'd finally won. A tear streaked down her cheek, smudging her flawless makeup. It's not fair, she whispered. You make it all look so effortless, your company, your investments, everything, you never mess up. That's not true, Leela. I mess up plenty. The difference is I don't judge my worth by stacking myself against you. I pulled a tissue from my pocket and handed it to her. And for the record, buying this house was a big financial gamble. I cashed out a big chunk of my savings and investments to pull this off. Leela wiped her eyes, careful not to smear her eyeliner. So why'd you do it? I nodded toward the stunning lake view. Partly because it's a smart move. Waterfront homes in Ohio hold their value like gold. I hesitated, then decided to lay it all bare. And partly to make a point. After years of you going on about this dream house while cutting down my wins, I wanted you to see that actions have consequences. To my surprise, she let out a soft chuckle. That's kinda bold, Jenny, a little shady, but bold. The rare moment of real laughter between us eased the heaviness in the air. I couldn't help but grin. I like to call it a lesson in respecting boundaries. So what's next? She asked, glancing around the porch. You bought this place to stick it to me. Are you gonna let me swing by, or is this your way of shutting me out for good? That was the question I'd been wrestling with since I put in the offer. That's up to you, Leela, I said. I didn't buy this house just to keep you away. I bought it because I'm done with the way things have been between us and something had to give. I stood and leaned against the porch railing, gazing out at the water. Truth is, I miss my sister. Not the one who drags me at family parties or claims my successes, but the girl who'd crack me up so hard I'd choke on my cereal. The one who showed me how to braid my hair and stayed up with me during scary storms. When I turned back, Leela was looking at me with a softness I hadn't seen in ages, open, unguarded. I miss her too, she said quietly. Then let's try something different, I offered. Total honesty, starting right now. Why'd you tell the whole family I was bankrupt? She let out a long sigh, setting her purse down. Because I'm sinking, Jenny. My credit cards are tapped out. I'm 4 months late on my car loan. The boutiques got me on a warning because my numbers are tanking. Nothing's going right. Then I saw those papers and thought, finally, I'm not the one falling behind Jenny. Her raw confession hung in the air, the most honest thing she'd said to me in years. Thanks for being straight with me, I said gently. Why didn't you just ask for help? Because I'm supposed to be the big shot, she blurted out. I'm the older sister. At 41, I should have it all together. How could I admit my little sister's running a real company while I'm still steaming dresses at a store? I sat back down beside her. Leela, success isn't just about bank accounts or fancy titles, and it sure isn't a race between us. Easy for you to say when you're killing it, she mumbled, but there wasn't much bite in her words. Am I? I work 80-hour weeks. I haven't had a proper vacation in 6 years. My last date delayed because I was glued to my laptop. Trust me, I'm dropping the ball in plenty of ways. She looked stunned, like it never crossed her mind my life wasn't picture perfect. I guess we've both been telling ourselves stories about each other that aren't totally true, she said. Exactly. So here's my deal. This house has 6 bedrooms. One's mine. One could be yours, but there are rules. Her eyes went wide. You'd let me use this place after what I pulled? If, I stressed, you agree to some terms. First, no more public takedowns or stealing credit for my work. Second, we keep it real with each other, money, struggles, all of it. Third, you come clean to the family about your lie yesterday. She flinched at that last one. They'll think I'm awful. They'll think you messed up. If you own it, they'll respect you for it. She thought it over, then gave a slow nod. And in return, I get to crash at this amazing house sometimes? More than that, I said. You get a shot at us being actual sisters, not rivals. Plus, if you're up for it, I'll help you sort out your money mess. No judgment, just practical stuff. For a second, I thought pride might make her say no. Then her shoulders softened, and I saw my real sister, not the act she usually put on. I'd like that, she said simply. I held out my hand. So we got a deal? She skipped the handshake and pulled me into a fierce hug. Deal, she whispered against my shoulder. As we pulled apart, I grabbed the keys from the table and pressed them into Leela's palm. Go check out the place. I'll whip up some fresh coffee. While Leela wandered through the house, oohing and awing over details she'd dreamed about for years, I dialed my parents. It was time for the family to hear the real story, straight from both of us. 3 weeks after the reunion, we hosted another gathering, this time at the beach house. The invite went out to all our relatives, raising eyebrows with its joint sign-off. Jenny and Leela Harper invite you to join us. The big living room buzzed with family, most still puzzled about what was going on. Mom and Dad got there first, Mom's jaw dropping as she soaked in the view. Jenny, this place is gorgeous, she gasped, heading straight for the huge windows facing the lake. But when did you buy it? The morning after the reunion, I said, returning her hug. I'd been working on the deal for a few weeks before that. Dad ran his hand over the sleek built-in shelves, nodding approvingly. Not the kind of move you'd expect from someone going bust, he said with a dry chuckle. About that, I started, but Leela's entrance cut me off. She swept in with a tray of homemade snacks, a shock for anyone who knew her usual hatred of kitchen work. Her outfit was chic but toned down, no flashy sunglasses or chunky jewelry in sight. As more relatives trickled in, the room hummed with curiosity. Uncle Tom caught my eye from across the room and gave a knowing nod. Mia showed up with a bottle of sparkling cider, murmuring, "For the drama I'm about to see," as she handed it over. Once everyone was there, Leela tapped a glass to get their attention. The room went quiet, folks bracing for another big reveal. She looked nervous for a second, then stood tall. "Thanks for coming, everyone," she started. "I brought you here because I owe you all, and Jenny most of all, an apology." The shock in the air was thick. Leela Harper didn't do apologies. "At the reunion, I said Jenny filed for bankruptcy. That was a lie." Her voice wavered, but she pressed on. "I found some draft papers her accountant made for a business tweak, got it all wrong, and instead of talking to her, I blabbed it to everyone." Mom let out a soft gasp. Aunt Linda muttered something to Uncle Frank. Leela kept going. "Truth is, Jenny's company had a minor hiccup she was already fixing. She's nowhere near broke." She waved around the room. "In fact, she bought this beach house the very next day." Whispers of surprise and confusion spread through the crowd. "I know a lot of you heard me go on about wanting this place for years," Leela said. "When Jenny got it, I was mad, jealous, really, but it woke me up. This whole rivalry thing, it's mostly been me pushing it, and it's gotta stop." I stepped up beside her, standing together like we hadn't in ages. "We wanted you here today," I added, to set things straight and start over. This house isn't about one-upping each other, it's for our family to come together. Leela nodded. Jenny, letting me use it too, even after what I did. That's the kind of sister she is, the kind I'm trying to be. Her realness hit me hard. This wasn't the showy Leela I'd known. This was my actual sister, open and honest. Dad spoke up first, his voice thick. I think we're all proud of you both. It takes guts to lay it all out like this. The room's tension melted into warm chatter. Relatives came over, some offering support, others admitting they'd bought the bankruptcy story too fast. Uncle Tom wrapped us both in a big hug, muttering, "About darn time," in my ear. Change didn't happen in a flash. Old patterns crept back sometimes. Leela could still get competitive, and I'd occasionally clam up instead of speaking up. But the ground had shifted. With my help, Leela made her first real budget and started chipping away at her debt. She landed a retail supervisor job that played to her knack for style and people, still loving nice things but learning the difference between quality and flexing. My business didn't just bounce back, it soared. The new suppliers were better than the old ones, and the marketing plan we cooked up during the crunch turned out to be a game changer, giving us our best quarter yet. The beach house became what I'd hoped, a haven for family mending. Mom and Dad celebrated their 45th anniversary there. Cousins brought their kids for summer splash fests. Leela and I started monthly sister getaways, rebuilding our bond one talk at a time. One of those weekends, as we sat on the pier watching the sun sink, Leela turned to me. "You know, you could have used this house to rub my face in it. You had every reason to after what I pulled." I swirled my toes in the cool lake water, thinking it over. That wasn't the point. I was mad when I made the offer, sure, but deep down, I think I wanted to break the cycle we'd been stuck in for years. "It worked," she said with a quiet laugh. "Nothing pops a superiority bubble like watching your broke sister snag your dream house." "Funny thing is," I admitted, "this place means more to me than I planned. Not because it's fancy or pricey, but because it's where we started getting real with each other." Leela nodded, thoughtful. "I've been chewing on what you said back then about judging your worth by comparing yourself to others. I've done that forever, not just with you, it's draining." "And hollow," I agreed. "Chasing that comparison game never makes you happy." "I'm starting to get that," she said softly. As the sun dipped below the trees, painting the lake gold, I realized this house had given me something worth more than property value. It gave me my sister back and showed me that the strongest answer to pain isn't payback or even letting go. It's opening a door for change. Leela's big bankruptcy lie, meant to knock me down, ended up sparking the healing of our family's deepest scar. By trying to shame me in front of everyone, she'd accidentally set us both on a path to something better than winning, truth and reconnection. That night, as family gathered around the fire pit, swapping stories and laughs under the flickering flames, I looked at the faces glowing in the light. The road from hurt to healing wasn't easy or neat, but standing here now, I wouldn't trade a single step of it. What's your story with family rivalries? Ever had a moment that flipped a tough relationship around? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this tale of sisters and second chances hit home, give that subscribe button a tap and a thumbs up. Thanks for coming along on this ride, and remember, sometimes the path to healing starts right in the moment meant to tear us apart.